How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you could, before we get started, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, really helps me out. So we're going to be tying up a predator fly today. I was messing around with some materials, ended up tossing this together, ended up working pretty well. So I'm going to show you guys how to tie it. This may not be something new. Someone else may have done this already, but I tied it up. It worked well. I was using it for stripers. I've used it for bass, and I've used it for pike, all with success. So let's get started. First thing we're going to be using is a 3/0 big game Mustad hook. And just so you guys know, if you're interested in any of the tying materials or what I'm using in the video, it will all be in the description below. Alright, once you're in your vise, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some extra weight to this fly. I'm going to go ahead and snip that off. I like keeping this right about there on the section of the hook. Now I got some 200 GSP spooled up. I like using a heavier thread on this just because usually it is used for like predator fish, and in the event some teeth go through stuff and try and rip this fly apart, this just does a little bit of better job of holding everything together. I'm just gonna make sure that wire wrap is gonna stay firmly where I put it. You get rid of your tag end. And then we will advance down to the tail once that's covered up. Alright, next thing, our tail material. We got some mini dragon tails. Now, these don't have too much action when they're moving slow, but if you get this fly moving fast, these have some awesome action in the water. And the most important thing about this part here is make sure you get that centered right on top and keep it on top. What I also like to do, just as a little added security to this, is I like to put a little bit of Zappa Gap down. Alright, so just a little bit of Zappa Gap right on top of that, guys. That's really all you need. Just get that down, lay that on top, let it stick. I like to give it a second just to set. And then we will loosely go around. Make sure that's not moving too much. And then I really crank that down. Alright. Once that's in, I like to get that as flat as possible, and then kind of even off this little nose section, because the way I tie this fly, I kind of make the end of this almost like a saltwater fly, in a sense of like almost like a needlefish or a ballyhoo. So I like to try and keep it as perfect shaped as possible. That looks pretty good. Alright, so now we're going to come back down to the back side here. we're gonna take some rabbit zonker. Now this is just some gray bottom with some tan and white top. We're gonna kind of go like a bait fish profile on this. All right, now the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna add your zonker strip in. And I like to do this at an angle because you're gonna be palmering this back to get a nice little collar on this fly. So the first few wraps I kind of just leave towards the back. We're just gonna start pulling that back, just like that. And make that collar as tight and thick as you can. And the reason I like doing this with zonker is because the rabbit hair is so light and fluffy, you get a lot of movement from this in the water. And I just, like I've said in the beginning of this video, I've done really well with this fly, so I haven't changed it. What I did in the beginning works, so I'm gonna stick with it. And I'm gonna end that, oops, sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna end that right about there. So we're gonna come over the top with all that. Pinch that in. And I like to get right where that zonker strip kinda is just the fluff. And we're gonna go up and over. We're gonna cut that excess off. All right, at this point, I'm gonna move you guys in a little closer if I can get it to focus. I'll be able to. There we go. All right. All right, guys, so now once you've built that shape up, you kind of want a cone shape going straight down. Like I said, the tip of this is just, it's gonna look just like a saltwater fly. And like I said, I've used this in saltwater and it works great. So we're gonna get that shaped the way I would like it, and then we will move on to the next step. So for the most part, I like the way that looks. We're gonna whip finish that off. I'm gonna take this thread off, and then we are gonna color this thread with a different thread. I always like to do a double whip finish. Just gives me a little peace of mind that that shouldn't come off. Now, because this is going to be kind of like a bait fish pattern, we're gonna go with some gray thread just to offset that white, and we're gonna use this to finish that off. Cut that tag end off. Alright guys, so once you like the shape of that head, I really like the shape of that. It's pretty much what I'm going for. So we're gonna finish this off. And I use this lighter thread just because I didn't want to build the head up anymore. I just wanted to change the color and not color it with a marker or anything. I like the way the thread wraps look under this. So we're gonna basically just use whatever color thread you want. Get that thread on the end. Shape it a little more to what you like. Like I said, I try and keep it pretty cone shaped going towards the eye of the hook. And where I'm at now is pretty much where I like to be. The next thing you're gonna do is find your desired set of eyes. I'm using Living Eyes. Ice is the color, 5mm. You don't have to get these too stuck onto this fly because I'm gonna be covering it in UV resin, so they're gonna get locked in either way. But one thing I've noticed is the smaller the eye that you put on this fly, the better it looks. So when I first started tying this, I made the mistake of putting too big of an eye, and it didn't look as good as the small eyes. And what I do with these eyes is I'll just take a little pin, I stick that inside my bottle of Zap-A-Gap, like so, just so I get a little bit on the tip of the pin, and then you're gonna just get your eye straight on to the side of this. Alright guys, so once you get your eye on there like that, I'm kinda a snob on eye placement and the eye being straight. The fish don't really care, but I do. Makes me feel better, so I like to get it where I like it, and once it's in there, I'm gonna have to release my vise. Alright, we're gonna slide this way. Just make sure that eye is where you like it. As long as that eye placement is good. Alright. Just gonna take some thin UV resin, and I'm just gonna put some spots around that eye. I'm gonna put some spots around that eye to hold it where you want it to be. And remember guys, when it comes to this UV resin, go a little at a time. You can always add more, you can't take it off once it's on there. So I like to just go slow, get the eye cased in. Once the eye is cased in, and then I'll form the rest of the head with the resin, and you'll be all set to go. But from this point, it's all just resin work, and once the eyes are in and that's solid, from there you're just gonna fill in the rest of the nose on the fly and you're good to go. All in all, it's a pretty simple fly to tie. Given you take your time and you just go slow at the end. This is the part where if you're gonna screw up, you're gonna screw up right here. And like I said, just go slow with the eye, get rid of any air bubbles. I like to circle the eye with the tip of that resin bottle, because that's gonna get rid of any of the bubbles that are on top of that eye, and it just kind of makes a nice glaze over the top of it. All right. So as you can see, that eye is nice and cased in. We don't have any big bulges, so we're gonna move to the bottom section of it, which is usually easiest to do at an upside down angle like this, just to make sure that that resin gets down and in where it has to. All right, so now that eye's in that fly where I want it to be. No crazy bulges, head shaped the way it should be. Once we fill in underneath, that'll be nice and round. So we're gonna go to this side now. We're gonna get the eye on that side. We're gonna do the same process, like I said. Just a tiny little wipe of Zappa Gap on the bottom of this eye, just to keep it where you want it until you can put the UV resin on it. And what you don't want to do is glue that to your finger like I just did. Alright. It's right where I want it. Throw that a little bit of resin on that eye, just to hold it in right there. Alright guys, that's your finished product. Now I use this fly a lot, like I said, for stripers, bass, pike. I believe I've even caught some walleye on it. So, pretty simple, few materials, pretty easy to tie. The most important thing is when you do get to the end, make sure you take that fly and you just go really slow when you're UVing the head. Just because, like I said, you can always add more, you can't add less. So go slow, keep it thin, keep a nice shape, and if it's not perfect, like I said, it bothers you, it doesn't bother the fish, but that's your general shape that I like to stick with. I mean, that cone-shaped head with that rabbit zonker behind it, because it's so narrow, it allows that water to really push that rabbit zonker around. And like I said, when you really get that fly moving, that dragon tail really starts kicking in the water, and it all around, it just gives you a pretty decent action in all aspects of the fly, and it's been pretty effective for me. So hopefully some of you find this helpful. Maybe tie it up yourself, give it a shot. If you do, leave a comment down below, let me know how it works for you. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.